Merlin's a game that you can play. You can play it 6 different ways. Some play a tune on Music Machine or try to play Blackjack 13.
This is Merlin. Merlin came out in 1978 and is considered the first handheld video game. It sold over 5 million units. Just for context, the Game Boy came out over 10 years later, 1989.
Right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy.
Now, to be fair, it doesn't have a video screen. It has a series of lights. Effectively, its resolution is 3 pixels by 3 pixels. But don't be fooled by its simplicity. You can do a lot with it. When you boot it up, you selected 1 out of 6 games that you could play. My favorite being game number 5, which was Magic Square. And the point of the game was to make a square. So all the lights would light except for the center. So there's 3 patterns built into the different types of buttons. You have the sides, the corners, and the middle. The side buttons invert the 3 lights on that side. The corner buttons will invert the 4 lights, the corner, and the 3 adjacent. And the center will invert a plus pattern. And once you understand those patterns, it makes the game a lot easier, but it's still fun. To me, Merlin was magic in a box, and I think that's why he's called Merlin. Okay, so you're wondering, why am I telling you so much about this game of my youth? Well, to me, it's the perfect example of something that's fairly simple, but complex enough to be challenging to build from scratch. So I decided to build my own from scratch. So what's it going to take to build this thing? Well, we're going to work in 3 different disciplines. You got 3D printing. You got to have some kind of structure, housing. You've got the electronics themselves. It's got to make it function. And then you have the code. And we have to learn to program a little bit. I didn't just want to do the project to learn for myself. I felt that that's kind of selfish. I wanted to build a project that anybody could build. So as I started thinking through this, I wanted to use parts that were easily accessible, inexpensive, and I wanted it to be easy to build. And of course, I always like things to be modular. So I want it to be something that, we can build this one game into it, but I want to build out all the games. So when it came to recreating the game, I thought, well, the hardest part is going to be programming these patterns. Could I get lights to invert when you press a button? It wasn't quite as hard as I thought it was going to be. I was able to do the inversion pretty easily. And I know there's more efficient ways to write the code, but I was just thrilled to be able to write any code that could do what I wanted it to. But the cool thing about Arduino and the Arduino community is you don't even have to know how to write any code. You just have to know how to read it, and then you can start piecing and pasting stuff together from other examples. At first, I kind of felt like that was cheating, and I felt like I wouldn't really learn anything by doing that. But then I found out that's pretty much what everybody does. So I just used 3 LEDs and 3 buttons just to prove the principle. I had the first button just inverted that light. The second button inverted itself, and then the third button inverted the other 2. Once I had that, then I felt like, okay, I'm going to expand this into all 9 lights. It didn't take much longer, and I was able to build a full working model of the game on the breadboard much faster than I expected. That's the whole game right there. We've got the microcontroller, 9 lights, a little piezo buzzer, and 9 buttons. Now I have the electronics functioning. We have to put it in some kind of casing. Of course, they sell project boxes, but part of my desire with this is to be able to create as much of it ourselves as possible. With 3D printing being so accessible now, it's pretty amazing. You have all kinds of filaments to choose from. I highly recommend just stick to 2 types of filament, PLA and TPU. PLA is, like a hard plastic, and the TPU is a rubbery or a vinyl material. Why only these 2 materials? Because you can do probably 95% of anything you want to print with one of these 2 materials. So my next challenge, I have to have the light coming from the button. Well, as you can see, the button is a solid button. So how do we get this to work? They make LEDs pretty small nowadays. So I got on Amazon and I started looking around, and I found these really small ones. I actually remembered them from a Rotor Riot episode we did where we needed the smallest LEDs we could find to put on the end of the propellers. I put together a prototype with the buttons and the LEDs, and it worked fine. It felt good. The lights lit up the buttons pretty well. but the build process was quite intensive. Each LED needs a resistor. Each LED is stacked on top of a button. So you have the button contacts you got to solder. You got to solder both contacts for the LEDs, and you also have the resistors. So it was becoming a bit of a mess, and part of my goal was to make it simple. It's intimidating, to say the least. I was happy with the finished design, but I was not happy with the build process. I want to make sure that people have a guaranteed path to success. I thought maybe one simplification I could do was, what if I eliminate the buttons so people don't even have to buy buttons? So if I could just allow the TPU buttons to be the actual button and it presses down on a matrix of wires, then it would be very inexpensive. So I proceeded to put that version together, and I think I was going the wrong way. It was actually a little more difficult, and the buttons didn't feel as good, and it wasn't as reliable, and they probably were gonna wear out over time. So I abandoned that idea. I tried several ideas, lots of iterations, and a lot of tries. I just thought, okay, let me try a printed circuit board. So I found Easy EDA, which is software that allows you to make your own printed circuit board. And right out of the software, you can send it to the company. But the first circuit board I made, just as a test, I got within a week. And when I really looked at the pricing, given the time that it saves and the simplicity of the build, it really did make it a lot simpler and cheaper. So after about 3 different versions, I was able to come up with this version, which truly simplified the whole process. Part of that process is I found these tactile buttons with the LEDs built in. They work great and they make the build so much simpler. But I was concerned. I'm like, how are other people going to be able to find this? That's not an easily accessible piece. So I thought, I'll just buy a crap ton of them and make them available on our store. I think it really makes the end product a lot nicer, and it makes the build a lot easier. After months of iterations, I'm not kidding, it worked really well. The lights are bright, it's clear, the USB port is accessible, which means you can do other games. Another game that came out around the time Merlin was Simon Says. I'm excited to see what you guys do with it. All the plans are available, the code's there. You can make whatever games you want that fits in a 9-button square. You may have noticed my version is slightly different than the original. The original, the lights light up in a square. On my version, all 9 lights light up. I did that because I wanted to, and it's my project, and I can do it the way I want. Magic Square was just the beginning. It was an excuse to come up with a nice little modular platform. What I like is you can change out the style of the buttons, you can change the programming, you can even print it in different colors if you like. I wanted to be able to have something that was inspiring to this generation as much as Merlin was inspiring to me. This thing sits on my desk. If I need a break, I fire it up and I do a couple of games, and they're short enough that it doesn't take you away from something completely, but they're challenging enough that it keeps you engaged, even if it's just for a few seconds. But as cool as that is, it was still missing something. I really missed the styling of Merlin. Merlin was classy, he was shiny, and he had futuristic lines like nobody's business. So I thought, now that I have the version that anybody can build, I want to keep going. That candy apple red on a maroon base with a subtle texture, I had to have it. But how am I going to make it? How am I going to print it? I can't do it on my filament printer. So I worked with a friend of mine, John Pinkerton. He does these crazy, creepy, cute style things. And I knew that whatever I wanted to create, he'd be able to help me. I did the 3D model, and then I had John help me print it. And then he actually created a silicone mold to make these out of resin.
There's only one half of a mold at the moment, but once this side dries, we'll flip it over, clean out the clay, take out the acorn nuts, and then pour the second half, and then we'll actually have a 2-part mold that fits exactly together.
And the type of resin that he used is very similar to the original plastic. And he even got the color dead on to the original. But I didn't want to stop there. I wanted the buttons to work like the original buttons. On the original design, back in 1978, you're looking directly into the LED because they weren't very bright back then. But nowadays, even the smallest LEDs are really bright compared to that. So the design of the buttons on the original were clear so that they could easily see the LEDs. But then it had like contact points around it. You're essentially pressing two layers of film together that have some conductivity, and it increases the capacitance when you press these two layers together. I didn't necessarily want to use the same technique, but I wanted to have the same look, and I didn't want to swap out parts. I didn't want to create something brand new. So I ended up just finding a way to use the same buttons. I took a piece of acetate and added tint film over it because the LEDs are so bright. And then I got one of those Cricut cutters from Joann Fabrics, and I was able to just cut out some vinyl that was very similar to the gray circle look. And then I put all this on a little sheet and I put it up underneath it, and it just rests on top of the buttons, and it functions just like the original. So I have to tell you, once I put this together, I had the biggest smile when I turned it on and I got to play my first game of Magic Square on my new design. So I decided I wanted to be able to make this available for people. The idea is that this is a project that people can have fun with. We have a DIY kit, which is 3D printed on a filament printer, and you can build it yourself. And if you want to build the fancy retro version, maybe I'll make that available, because I only made enough for me and some friends, people I really like. But if you comment and this video gets a lot of likes, then I'll like you too. My favorite part about doing projects like this is collaborating with our viewers. I read every comment, so please share your thoughts and ideas. Sometimes people have really great ideas, but might not have the resources to bring them to life. I'm excited to stay engaged with our subscribers and help bring your ideas to reality. So I hope that was educational, and more so, I hope it was inspirational. If a regular guy like me can learn this stuff, figure it out, and make something really cool, so can you.